Today, we're jumping into an ancient chronicle that's just packed with power, prophecy, and yeah, the epic downfall of two entire nations. This is a story where the divine isn't just some abstract idea, it is a political force. It's a world where the word of a single prophet can literally create or destroy a dynasty. So, let's get into it.
Our story kicks off not with a battle or a coronation, but with an exit. An exit unlike any other. The great prophet Elijah, instead of dying, is just swept up from the earth in a whirlwind, riding a chariot of fire. Right from the get-go, this one event tells you everything you need to know. We are in a world where the normal rules don't apply, and the line between heaven and earth is, well, shockingly thin.
So, with Elijah gone, you might think his power just vanishes with him. But no, it's passed on. And that's where we start, with the story of that inheritance and the next prophet who's about to wield it to shape the fate of a kingdom.
And this transfer of power is just fascinating. On one side, you've got Elijah, this super rugged, fiery prophet, described as a hairy man with a leather belt. And on the other, you have his loyal student, Elisha. Just before Elijah's taken, Elisha makes this incredibly bold request. He asks for a double portion of his master's spirit. And because he witnesses that fiery exit, he gets it. He literally picks up Elijah's cloak, his mantle, that fell to the earth.
And believe me, Elisha doesn't waste any time putting that power to work. The proof is right here in the miracles. First, he parts the Jordan River, just like his master did. Then, he purifies his city's poisoned water supply. For a desperate widow about to lose her sons to debt, he multiplies a little bit of oil until she has enough to pay everyone off and live on the rest. He even brings a child back from the dead and cures the leprosy of Naaman, who happens to be a powerful enemy commander. This isn't just a few magic tricks. This is a clear display of absolute authority over nature, life, and death itself.
But here's the thing. This kind of prophetic power isn't just for healing and helping the poor. It's about to be unleashed on the political stage, and it's going to trigger one of the most violent coups in Israel's history.
On Elisha's command, a military commander named Jehu is secretly anointed as the new king, and that's the signal for a bloody revolution to begin. The purge is just swift and absolutely ruthless. Jehu personally kills two kings. He then has the infamous Queen Jezebel thrown from a window to her death. But he doesn't stop there. He eliminates the entire royal line by having all 70 of the former king's sons beheaded. And for the final act, in a wild bit of deception, he gathers all the worshippers of the foreign god Baal into their own temple and has every last one of them slaughtered.
So, you'd think mission accomplished, right? Jehu did what he was told. He wiped out the corrupt dynasty of Ahab and the worship of Baal. But here's the twist. The Chronicle points out that while he destroyed one kind of idol worship, he kept another one going, this state-sponsored worship of golden calves that a previous king, Jeroboam, had set up. So he obeyed to the letter on one command, but he failed on the bigger picture. And that failure? It plants the seeds for future disaster.
All right, so while the northern kingdom is just reeling from Jehu's bloody revolution, a totally different kind of drama is unfolding down in the southern kingdom of Judah. This is a story about a murderous queen, a hidden heir, and a conspiracy to save the royal line from being wiped out completely.
So, when Queen Athaliah's son, the king, is killed, she makes this ruthless power grab. She orders the execution of the entire royal family, so there are no rivals to her throne. But she misses one, the baby prince Joash. He's rescued by his aunt and hidden away inside the temple. For 6 long years, Athaliah rules as a usurper while the real king is secretly being raised by the high priest. Then, in the 7th year, the priest decides it's time to launch a counter-coup.
And the plan? He goes off without a hitch. The priest, Jehoiada, reveals the 7-year-old boy to the palace guards, who immediately know what to do and proclaim him king. When Queen Athaliah hears all the noise and runs out crying, "Treason! Treason!" she's the one who's seized and executed. And just like that, for a moment, order is restored in Judah. A righteous priest and a young king are in charge, and it really seems like the kingdom has been pulled back from the brink.
But you know how these stories go. These moments of stability, they never seem to last. The narrative picks up speed now, covering generations of rulers one after the other. And what we see is this terrible cycle of bad kings, assassinations, and just this growing feeling of instability, all leading up to one last, desperate attempt at reform before the end.
Just look at the chaos up north. After Jehu's dynasty finally ends, it's just one king getting assassinated after another. Some of these guys last for only 6 months. One of them only lasts a single month before he's violently overthrown.
This is a kingdom that is literally collapsing from the inside, totally trapped in a death spiral of conspiracy and murder. But down in the south, there's one last bright spot. A good young king named Josiah comes to the throne, and while they're renovating the temple, his high priest makes an incredible discovery, the long-lost Book of the Law. When this book is read to Josiah, he is absolutely horrified by how far the nation has strayed from its own rules. So he launches the most sweeping religious reform in Judah's history, tearing down idols and recentering their faith. For a minute, it really seems like disaster might actually be averted.
But then, a prophetess delivers the devastating verdict. Josiah's reforms are good, she says, and as a reward, he himself will be spared from seeing the disaster. But the nation's fate is already sealed. It is simply too late. Apparently, the sins of his grandfather, the wicked King Manasseh, were so great that God's wrath just can't be turned away.
So now we arrive at the inevitable conclusion. All those warnings from all those prophets, ignored for generations, are finally about to come true. Both kingdoms, the north and the south, are about to be wiped off the map by the great empires of the age.
And the kingdom of Israel, the 10 tribes of the north, is the first to go. After centuries of political instability and religious rebellion, their time has just run out. And the source is crystal clear on why this happened. The people of Israel had sinned, building idols and completely ignoring the prophets sent to warn them. Their last king, Hoshea, tried to conspire against the mighty Assyrian Empire, which was a very bad idea. It led to a brutal 3-year siege of his capital city, Samaria. When the city finally fell, the Assyrians deported the population, scattering them all across their empire. They became what we now call the Lost Tribes, and the kingdom of Israel was gone for good.
A little over a century later, the southern kingdom of Judah, which had managed to survive the Assyrians, met its own end, this time at the hands of the next global superpower, the Babylonians.
So let's just break this down. You have 2 sister kingdoms, conquered by 2 different empires, but the Chronicle gives a really similar root cause for both collapses. The north fell to Assyria because, as the text puts it, they abandoned their covenant with God. And the south? It fell to Babylon because of the actions of that one king, Manasseh, whose evil and the innocent blood that he shed had sealed the nation's fate generations earlier. It made even the final desperate reforms of good King Josiah too little, too late.
And that leaves us with the powerful idea at the heart of this entire story, that leadership matters, that actions have consequences that can echo for generations, and that a nation's ultimate destiny is tied directly to its moral integrity. It's a really challenging idea from an ancient world, and it leaves us with a question to think about. What does this perspective on power and accountability mean for us right here, right now?